It's to take a deep breath and settle in for a moment. I want to gently prepare you for something important. This week might feel off, a little confusing, maybe even strange, but it's not your imagination. There's something happening beneath the surface, something subtle but powerful. And if you saw it all clearly, you might not be so quick to go along with it. That's why it's hidden in plain sight. And yes, the atmosphere really is a little strange right now. You're not the only one sensing it. Even though the full moon just passed, the energy it stirred up hasn't settled yet. There's this odd feeling in the air, like everything is moving forward, but something still feels out of place, like you're walking through a dream that isn't quite yours. That strange sensation. It's not random, it's a message, and your job is to pay attention. There's a reason for this discomfort. You might not understand it just yet, but clarity is beginning to blur for a purpose. Even when you can't see the road ahead clearly, you're still being asked to trust the direction you're headed. The ones who make it through this strange chapter will be those who keep walking, even if the path feels invisible. Something unusual is taking shape this week, and hardly anyone has noticed it. But once you do, you won't be able to unsee it. There's a pattern forming, a kind of cosmic choreography playing out just beyond awareness. I'll explain more about that soon. But before we get there, I need to ask you something deeper. What if the emotional heaviness, the weird energy, the confusion, it isn't even yours? This week is nudging you forward, but some of the people or energies around you might not be ready to let go. You're changing, you're growing, and the shifts in your life are revealing new aspects of who you are. But not everyone around you is ready to release the version of you they once knew. That tension you're picking up on, it's real, but it's not coming from within you. Maybe you felt it as sudden exhaustion, scattered thoughts, or a strange pressure in the air. It could feel like something's weighing on you, but in truth, someone else is struggling with your growth. They're losing access to the version of you they once emotionally relied on, and their confusion is echoing into your space. Sometimes the emotional mess you're feeling isn't yours to clean up. This week, Mercury and the Moon are making contact with what astrologers call Elian points, subtle but significant markers that shift both your thinking and your emotions off-center. When the mind and heart move away from their usual balance, it creates tension. That pressure you're feeling, it's not just emotional, it's spiritual. This is a kind of soul-level test. And here's the big question the universe is asking you right now. Can you keep moving forward even while someone else is still holding on to the old you? Because over the next few days, this theme is going to keep showing up. The emotional, mental, and spiritual energies heading your way are going to test your boundaries. If you're not paying attention, you might start to carry fear or confusion that doesn't actually belong to you. Be mindful of what's yours and what isn't. Earlier today, just a few hours after the full moon reached its peak, the moon began its slow retreat. And now, it feels like everything is holding its breath. There's a strange kind of silence in the air, as if the sky is waiting for something to settle. That full moon stirred something deep. Maybe it brought up feelings you weren't expecting. Maybe it cracked something open. And now, as the moon fades, it's taking all that energy with it, but not without struggle. You might have found yourself overwhelmed in the past day or two. Maybe you cried unexpectedly. Maybe you felt deeply seen, exposed, or raw. That intensity left a mark. And now, there's a chill, a distance, as if something was said or felt in a vulnerable moment, and now the emotional air has shifted, cooler, quieter, more distant. You're not alone in this. Emotional intensity followed by separation can leave us feeling unsteady. This in-between moment, this pause after the storm, it's important. It's when people start to feel empty. But that emptiness isn't a bad thing. It's more like a spiritual echo. The event has passed, but the space it occupied still hums. You're not feeling the pain of something new. You're feeling the loss of something you finally let go of. And that's a kind of healing too. Possible that some individuals are experiencing feelings of disorientation, a sense of longing for something they can't identify, or a sense that they've lost touch with who they were before that emotional flood came through. When something like this occurs, there is also a peculiar spiritual vertigo that manifests itself. It is a dizziness that is not necessarily bodily, but more profound to the soul. A startling realization that something has changed, and up until this point you were unaware of how strongly you were hanging on to it. There are times when letting go does not seem like a relief. There are moments when it seems like sadness as a result of what you believed you needed. The purpose of this moment is not to feel like a resolution. We want it to have a genuine vibe. The whole cosmos is keeping a watchful eye. What is it that you are prepared to let go of now that it is hovering above you and just out of reach? Mostly due to the fact that when things go, we are able to determine whether or not they were ever intended to remain. Moreover, just when you believe that you have a clear understanding of what is about to leave, the mind begins to play tricks on you itself. That person is lying. You could even be the culprit. The 16th of April is not the day for answers. Rather, it is the day for illusions that have the appearance of being solutions. And it is a hazard that is far greater. Mercury and Neptune are now in a symbiotic relationship. And when the globe of logic collides with the planet of dreams, the ground under the feet becomes slick. Thoughts get muddled out of emotion. The process of projection gives intuition a tinge of color. And things that seem to be self-evident, in many cases, they are the furthest off from reality. The 16th of April is a test of one's perception. You run the risk of falling into a reality that was never yours to begin with if you are unable to succeed. People can believe that they are receiving messages from the cosmos, but it's possible that they are instead hearing their own anxieties reverberate back at them. It's possible that some people will say things that they don't intend to say, or even worse, they could say things that they believe in the moment, only to reverse themselves the following day. It is not because they are lying. Rather, it is because they are caught up in the mist. Also, that fog is rather dense. It is possible that because of this, you may interpret someone's silence as a sign of rejection, or you may hear praise and interpret it as an attempt to manipulate you. Another option is to have a sudden spiritual download that has a sense of urgency, but it turns out to be nothing more than your own anxiousness dressed up in cosmic garb. It is the type of day that you will swear you know what is going on, until you discover that your compass was pointing at a mirror. That is the kind of day that occurs on April 16th. The purpose of this is not to frighten you. The purpose of it is to sharpen you. For the reason that during periods such as these, the true test is not whether or not you trust anything that you heard. It depends on whether or not you are able to halt for a sufficient amount of time to inquire, whose voice is this, and does it even belong to me? This week there is a sense of unease in the air, and it is not only you who is experiencing it. Elian, the point at which Mercury is at its furthest distance from the Sun, is reached on April 17th. It is now only a few days apart that two heavenly bodies are moving away from one another. First, the Moon, and now the Messenger. Moreover, both of them are taking a step back, which is producing a peculiar type of echo chamber all around us. What does it imply in this neighborhood? It is possible that you are experiencing a mental disarray, as if your thoughts are moving a little bit too far ahead of the time you are really in, or trailing behind the moment you are truly in. The conversations could have an odd feeling to them. You are probably familiar with the situations in which someone messages you only a second after you need them to do so. Or at the instant you open your lips, the words you had planned to say vanish before your own eyes. Ilion is where Mercury is located. It is as if the mind is out on a stroll, but it has neglected to leave a note behind. If you are still paying attention, there are certain discoveries that come to you late on purpose. In this type of energy, clarity is trying to make its way through, but it is moving at a more leisurely pace. It is more understated. There is a need for patience, to allow for interpretation. In this location, Mercury is not very loud. Rather, it is low and hushed. Moreover, this may be quite annoying. It is possible that you perceive yourself to be waiting for a response, for a sign, or for confirmation. And there is no timely arrival of anything. But that lag in time? It is a component of the narrative. It teaches you how to listen without expecting quick responses from the other person. Learn how to take a moment to reflect on the subject rather than rushing to find a response. This week, the truth takes a more circuitous route. The thing is, when it does come, it will land just where it is supposed to. If you are someone who has been struggling to make a choice as of late, you should hang on for a moment. Take a deep breath. And this is due to the fact that something changes when Mercury ascends higher into the sky. A stronger signal is being received. A closer look reveals the message. Moreover, it arrives at its destination on the 19th of April. It is said that the cosmos talks as Mercury rises. The morning of April 19th is not like any other dawn. It is a transmission from the heavens. On this day, Mercury reaches its maximum height in the morning sky, which is also the time when it is brightest and clearest after days of receding from these positions. In addition, people who are paying attention will understand that this has a significant meaning. This refers to a window for delivery. It is a messaging zone. There is a possibility that your soul already knows something before you even open your eyes on that particular day. There may be a dream that stays with you for a little period of time, causing a phrase to reverberate in your memory. This sentence might be a word, a number, or a name. It might also be the first thing that you see on your phone, such as the time, a headline, or a random post, among other things. On the morning of April 19th, something quiet but powerful begins to stir. It's like standing in front of a mirror, but instead of seeing your reflection, you finally start to hear the message your soul has been whispering to you all along. For some, this realization will come all at once, a sudden clarity, like mist lifting off a landscape and revealing what's always been there. For others, it may feel gentler, like a quiet peace settling into a place where there was once confusion or chaos. It might not come with fireworks or grand signs, but instead as a soft knowing, a subtle shift that only those who are truly still will notice. This message won't necessarily be something brand new. In fact, it's likely something you've already sensed before, something that's been trying to get through but hasn't quite earned your full trust. It may be tied to a moment earlier in the week, one that stood out to you, even if you didn't know why at the time. Now it's coming back around, clearer and more insistent, inviting you to pay closer attention. This week has been building toward this point. That sense of uncertainty you felt, the distance, the silence, it's all part of a greater process leading you here. The fog, the static, the emotional turbulence. It was never random. It's been setting the stage for clarity to finally settle in. But this clarity only finds you when you've learned to be still in the midst of the noise. So here's something to think about. The night before this moment arrives, set your intention. Choose to be open. On the morning of the 19th, don't rush into the day. Let your senses stretch. Mercury is ascending, and if you're listening carefully, the next step on your path may reveal itself, quietly but unmistakably. Remember when I said there's something strange about this week that most people haven't picked up on yet? Once you notice it, you can't unsee it. And here it is. Everything has been moving away. 3 things, 3 separations, 3 significant shifts, each reaching their peak in the same week. It begins with the moon. On April 13th, it reaches its farthest point from Earth. Then, just a few days later, on April 16th, it reaches aphelion, its farthest distance from the Sun. Not long after that, on April 17th, Mercury follows suit, also moving beyond its own aphelion. These aren't just astronomical facts, they're energetic signals, patterns, and none of it is by accident. Each of these celestial movements carries meaning. Something is pulling back, and as it does, it tugs at you too. It draws on your thoughts, your confidence in your spiritual path, your emotional balance. You might feel like you're floating, ungrounded, like your heart is somewhere far away, like your mind won't sync with your body, like your energy is echoing in an empty space. But this isn't a breakdown, it's a pause. A retreat, yes, but one that makes room. When things pull away, they create space. And in that space, you can hear yourself again. That's what this week is really about. Not about what's being lost, but about what's ready to emerge now that the noise is gone. So if you've been feeling disconnected, aimless, or strangely quiet inside, don't panic. This isn't the end of something. It's the beginning of something new. You are in the space between the waves, a stillness before the next tide comes in. And sometime during the week, you might notice something odd, a tiny moment, a strange sign, something that catches your attention for no clear reason, a fleeting word someone says, a symbol that keeps popping up, a song lyric that hits differently, a strange déjà vu while scrolling through your phone. It might seem small, even silly, but you'll feel it in a deep way, like it means something more than it should. That's because it's not about the size of the moment, it's about the frequency it carries. These are personal signs, coded in your language. They're not meant for anyone else. Only you will understand them, and only if you're open to receiving them. So don't dismiss those odd little nudges. Don't brush off your instincts. Don't tell yourself you're overthinking. And don't be afraid when something sparks unexpectedly inside you, that weird jolt in your chest, that sudden swell of emotion. That's your signal, and it's real.